Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com, the Duval podcast, and the Believe Podcast Network, here with your Jacksonville Jaguars takeaways from OTA Day 7. Things calming down just slightly on Monday as the Jaguars wrapped up mandatory minicamp last week. Coen already told us that was going to be the plan for this week. Things were going to calm down just a little bit with more players getting opportunities to be cross-trained this week. Players having the ability to do different things they kind of haven't been able to do throughout much of this time as we continue progressing, getting closer to the time when these guys are actually going to be donning pads and they're going to have a little bit more time off to kind of work on those individual things they all know they needed to work on throughout this offseason. At practice today, had Maurice Jones Drew, AJ Green, McCourty twins, Devin and Jason McCourty, the twin brothers and former defensive backs, played with the New England Patriots. Coach Coen also did mention following practice that he expects, Fred Taylor, DeMarcus Ware, both also to be able to join practice throughout the rest of the offseason. So we're looking out for that. Love to see those NFL greats kind of pouring into the Jacksonville Jaguars, younger team. Throughout practice, there was a lot of already talked like the cross-positional training, things of that nature. Coach Coen after practice did mention like you have the DBs working more on their blitz technique, working on a lot more of those kinds of things where it's not just defensive backs working through, let's say, ball drills or interception drills and things of that nature, but also working on strips, working on, again, trying to strip the quarterback after they get past the original block from the tight end and things of that nature, because he wants the defense to maybe look a little bit more multiple. He used the exact example of the Minnesota Vikings, how they have their defensive linemen often dropping back into coverage while you have defensive backs maybe blitzing a little bit. So examples similar to that. Additionally, he mentioned Antonio Johnson, the Jacksonville Jaguars safety entering the contract year, as a prime example, something like that, where he plays a lot in the box, but also can blitz, but also can be a deep safety if you're looking for that type of player or that style of player. Tanner Kozel, again, had himself a pretty solid day, starting off the action early on with a 10 to 12-yard catch from Lawrence, Lawrence had a clean first opening series. It was 3 out of 4 with multiple intermediate level catches. His only incompletion on that initial series was an overthrown deep ball to Austin Trammell with Christian Broswell in pretty tight coverage. Again, you have a lot of the cross mixing with the depth group and the starting group playing. So that means you have a lot of starting quarterback Trevor Lawrence playing with a lot of the depth receivers. You have a lot of the depth quarterbacks, whether it be, Joey Aguilar or Nick Mullins or whoever, playing with the starting Jacksonville Jaguars offense. So that gave all those guys a little bit more opportunity to show what they can do with the starting group. That helps with a lot of those competitions that we're going to be keeping a close eye on during training camp. Jarian Jones with another busy day, it was actually a very good day. He had a near interception diving attempt in the Jacksonville Jaguars 7-on-7 red zone period. Devin Marshall had one near interception, some would even argue two, on Joey Aguilar, where he kind of climbed the ladder and nearly brought it down, just dropped it at the edge. I thought it was a pretty incredible play. Additionally, Jabbar Muhammad, surprise, surprise, makes another pass breakup today. I mean, he's been showing up nearly every practice, if not every single practice, being able to get his hands on the ball. So that's another guy we're going to continue keeping our eye on as pads come on, because if he continues that play, it's going to be kind of near impossible to keep him off the roster. And that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on with the Jacksonville Jaguars having that limited depth as far as the outside cornerback position, and Travis Hunter still being limited on the grass as far as that piece is concerned. So Jabbar Muhammad's continuing to show out. Christian Broswell also having a very good day today. And again, being really involved in a lot of the deep ball attempts, a lot of the incomplete deep ball attempts, more importantly. We also saw C.J. Williams with probably one of his worst drops, I would say even his only drops I recall seeing from him from camp. It was not a great one, but again, you're not going to be perfect, and I fully understand that, but it was just a notable thing because he's been so sure-handed throughout this offseason. Spoke to quarterback Trevor Lawrence following practice about the offseason emphasis on the deep ball within this Jacksonville Jaguars evolving offense. He mentioned, obviously that they're going to continue working throughout this next month, throwing with the guys, trying to get them to make sure they get on the same page as far as that's concerned. But it was a known following last season. This offense was primarily a vertical offense as far as crossers, as far as, the deep crossers, those types of throws, and maybe the middle of the field throws. But they weren't getting a lot of the explosives as far as, down the sideline, those prototypical go balls. And that the Jacksonville Jaguars have multiple options available in their receiver room, whether it be Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, and not just Brian Thomas Jr., but even Travis Hunter and the tight ends, where they can continue evolving that deep, explosive passing game. So it was just a known that they needed to continue working on that and continuing to evolve that. And that's great to hear, because you've now seen it in application. For those of you who came out to mandatory minicamp, I've seen it in all of the practices. As far as OTAs are concerned, you probably haven't heard of the vertical passing game being that prevalent since maybe we'll even say the 2024 season. So that's obviously been something that is front of mind for the Jacksonville Jaguars coaching staff, and obviously it's quarterback Trevor Lawrence. It was great to kind of him hint on or comment on that. So we're good to go as far as the vertical passing game is concerned. But for the most part, that's what we have from the Miller Electric Center for OTAs Day 7. We still have the assistant coaches roundtable this afternoon, so we'll give you our takeaways from that once that takes place. But keep it locked in at Duval Dive, keep it locked in at BigCatCountry.com, and go Jazz.